Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Masha, Head of Partnerships at Kilimanjaro Consulting, and we are thrilled to have you join us today. We're really pleased today to be joined by a partner, Connection. For those who may not be familiar, Connection is an Australian-founded technology company established in 2006, and they work with hundreds of businesses across Australia and New Zealand, supporting industries like transport, construction, and field services. Now, what's really interesting about Connection is their one system approach. They bring together things like fleet management, fatigue compliance, asset tracking, and workforce management into a single platform. This includes health and safety, scheduling, job management, timesheets, and awards interpretation as well. They are the only ISV in the MYB ecosystem with NHVR approved electronic work diaries, making them highly relevant for transport heavy industries. Now, all of this gives businesses real time insights and much greater control over their operations, which is essentially important in times of volatility. So, today, they will be sharing some practical insights and real world strategies on how organizations can better manage the impact of fuel price fluctuations and build more resilient operations moving forward. We're looking forward to this really valuable session. But a few things you mentioned before we can dive in. Today's session is being recorded and will be sent to the attendees and people who have registered. You will all see a Q&A button within your Zoom interface. Please feel free to ask us anything relevant to this topic throughout the session so others can also see the questions and add to the conversation. We will reserve time at the end of the session to answer these. So without wasting any more time, please join me in welcoming Phil. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you, Marka, and hello, everybody. It is great to be here. Thank you to the Kilimanjaro Consulting team, and I look forward to showcasing a very hot topic today around the fuel crisis across Australia and New Zealand. Okay, so let's get into our first slide today. So I'm trying to here to set the stage, and I want to talk about, as I mentioned, that major pain point right now, which is the fuel crisis and tracking fuel costs and taking back the control of the crisis right now. So, as Marcia mentioned, my name is Phil de Cruz. I am the Chief Revenue Officer here at Connection. I manage the sales team, the partnership team, as well as the customer success team, and it's my duty to ensure that our product has a solution to manage the fleet side of the business and have it very synced and very live with MYB Acumatica. That's lovely implemented by the MYB, the Kilimanjaro team. So let's get into our second slide here, where we want to acknowledge what the pain point is. So the fuel costs are rising in Australia and New Zealand, if you haven't seen it. It has been putting a lot of real pressure on margins, particularly in that what I like to call the dangerous and dirty sector, that blue collar operations where it's either in construction or field service or transport. The fuel is a very expensive expense that needs to be monitored quite clearly. So the hidden problem is what we hear now that we know is it's the price of the fuel. It's the pump that's really hurting us, and the lack of visibility of how that fuel is getting tracked. Either there's theft going on, or you're not adding your fuel levy charge on your projects and jobs. So it's a really interesting topic, and it's quite different to some of the other topics that are out there currently. But yeah, I look forward to kind of showing a bit more into it. We will be going through a bit more of a live demonstration of the connection system on how we trap these fuel costs, not only through a form capture method, but also through a hardware telematics GPS method as well. So we're going to combine the combination of hardware and software together in a product, which is quite interesting. I guess here I'm also trying to change your mindset. Fuel right now feels like a fixed cost that you just have to absorb, but it's not. It's an expense you can actively manage. So that's why we want to show a couple of things today. And these are the challenges, really. There's leaking pipes everywhere. So the problem isn't usually one giant, massive leak. it's a combination of dozens small inefficiencies that compound in a huge financial drain, which is fuel. So common issues are businesses losing money without even seeing it, vehicles idling and being in dwell periods longer than they should be, fuel being used outside of allocated jobs, very difficult to manage and have that visibility. A lot of companies are still doing manual and paper receipts, sorry, and they just don't match the actual consumption that was used against that operating job. Yeah. I like to talk about the invisible threat. So there's also the issue of fuel theft, as I said, and waste. So most businesses suspect that they have some level of fuel loss, but without any connected data linking purchases to actual usage, it's almost impossible to prove the fuel theft itself. Some of the key takeaways out of today is, it's about theory about what's actually working out on the ground and how to fix these gaps right away. Tracking and the receipts, and we're going to show you exactly how each fuel of each vehicle or asset or to a job is tracked in real time in connection. Through telematics as well as through that form capture, as I said, and obviously connecting the field operations to the finance, the field to the office of connecting that kind of asset utilization to what is going on against a particular project that's in the Acumatica database or the EXO database. That's what connection does quite well. And what this means is if you do not track this correctly, your job costing reflects the actual fuel consumption, not your estimate. So bringing your operations and finance teams together on the same page is quite lucrative and beneficial. So without any further ado, let's transition into the demo itself, and let's go into it. So I am going to minimize this and open up the connection platform. So there are two screens I'm going to demonstrate today. One is the connection desktop screen, and the other one is the interface of what it looks like on a mobile device. So we are like any other app that's on an Apple Store or the Android Store. You just type in Kim or connection, and you'll find our little guy, our little mascot, and you'll click on him, and that will open up the system and allow you to start your day. Now, currently, I do have a bit of a workflow in place as I've allocated a job to myself, but before I start the day, I'm forced to do a bit of a fit for duty form that allows me to check that I'm free for alcohol. I've had some certain customers where they have their breathalyzer reading taken and also added against the actual form. So now once I do my sign on glass, I will submit my form through, and then that will lead off for me to start my pre-start. My form's been submitted as it's allocated green. I've allocated a truck to myself or a piece of yellow gear, and in order for me to continue the rest of the workflow, I'm forced to do a pre-start checklist, ensure that the vehicle itself is operational and safe for me to drive. And here comes the lovely poll question. Marsha, do you want to answer this question or just want to keep it up?
We can probably just keep it up, and then you can talk to the answers once everyone's given the poll.
And it's quite interesting how people do their current pre-starts. Some of them are still in 1955 and doing paper pre-starts. But I want to take you a bit of a journey on a digital pre-start on the mobile app. So as you can see here, my name and time and date and the location of where I'm doing the pre-start is automatically tracked and located. And as I go through my pre-start, not only this is happening in real time, but I can completely do this form offline in connection, which is great. And what I'm going to do here, just for the viewers, is to do a little bit of a tick and flick, but then I am going to raise a fault, and I'm going to raise a fault here on the lights. And one of the great things it can do is, as I raise the fault, it allows me to choose the sub-fault that I'm going to apply to this particular fault. So I'm going to say that the park lights are not working. In addition, I can actually add additional notes to the actual fault, or I can click this lovely little microphone button, and that allows me to talk into the device, describe the fault in real time, why it's broken, it needs to be replaced before it goes out to the next job. In addition of not only just taking the notes, but Connection allows you to take photos of any fault that it needs to be done. Also, we've added capability to add videos against a form, which is something quite new. But as I take the photo, the timestamp and the geolocation of every photo in Connection is taken, and the operator always has the ability to make any annotations to a particular photo if needed. Okay. Now, once I've submitted this, I will continue the rest of my pre-start, as these are mandatory fields that need to be filled out before I can complete my docket. I can choose my signature, and then I can submit through. Okay. Now, one of the great things is against that particular asset, which I can go against it now, is I've got a history of everything about this asset. I can see its utilization, all the pre-starts and services that have been happened to this particular asset, expiries, even go further into the last service history, the details of the chassis. We can link it to MYB with the depreciation linked against it, which is quite helpful. Any parent or child assets associated to it can be all linked against it. So the information is abundance of what you can store against it. And this is where now I can also raise my fuel docket against the asset. So essentially, what I've put against the asset is a subform, which is this little fuel docket form. And as I raise this subform, it has some fields that I need to fill out in order to capture that fuel cost. So I can say that the machine hours are in here if I needed to. Okay, I can put in the crew that is doing the actual the fuel docket. We can choose the supply of where I'm getting my fuel from. Is it from a fuel truck that's already on the construction site? Is it from a service depot or a service station? Is it from the yard? I can select that. I can choose the fuel that I'm going to actually consume, and how many liters I am going to consume as well. I could take a photo of the receipt or attach the receipt against the actual docket itself. I can put myself as the operator, which is Kai admin, and then I can sign off on this fuel docket. Okay. And once I sign off of that, I can submit that through. Anything in Connection you could also download or email. So you can always email directly off the phone, any compliance form, any timesheet, whatever you need. But then you could see that fuel docket, which hasn't got much information, but it's just a nice, simple PDF, clear of what is being captured out on the field. Okay. Now, let's move on to the lovely workflow that goes on the back of this these workflows. So another quick poll question comes in through here is how are you currently capturing your fuel? Is it just in someone's head? Are you doing paper somewhere? Are you capturing the receipts? Are you linking those receipts to the job or to the asset or to the project? We've got a poll question up right now that allows you to, spreadsheets is very common as well, but there's not much smarts in spreadsheets and capturing the real life data out on the field, so which is great. Alrighty, the lovely part now is Connection has a range of modules that we can comprise of, but today's webinar we are going to focus on the equipment module. Now we can see that a checklist is being completed today, and that's me, number one, that I've done one for today. I do have this lovely asset register of all my assets and first aid kits and fire extinguishers. It's all in here. I've put all them in lovely different categories, like that truck that I literally just did, there's the truck of what it looks like on the web. You can see exactly where the truck is parked. You can see all those details on the mobile in the desktop as well. We can have a nice live map of showing all your assets, which these are all click through that you can find a particular asset and then actually click onto it and then bring up all the details of that asset as well. Now, apart from the asset register, we do have the maintenance portal, where that fault that I literally just did seconds ago has come through here as the light breaks and allows me to click on that fault or that service and then allocate that to either you've got your own internal mechanics or you've got your third-party suppliers that will rectify the fault. And one of the great things is once you've allocated this fault, a job is created of the photo that I literally have taken, the notes I've taken for me to rectify that fault. And what that looks like on the mobile, which is really handy, is they will be able to go to the jobs, they'll be able to see the jobs for today, they'll be able to see the fault that's come in there, which is that truck, they'll be able to start their job, click on the fault, see the notes on the mobile, and start their job. And this is where we can add our labor against the service or fault that I'm rectifying. I can also consume parts against it. So if I wanted to scan a brake light, or if I wanted to scan a filter, or I can actually use the inventory within Connection, which is lovely mimicked with the inventory in MYB. Allows us to consume that particular brake light that is used for this job against that particular service. So adding the labor and the part tracking is another lovely benefit of managing your fleet and your servicing schedules of all your assets. Okay. We've got some further items in here like expiry dashboards. We've got what's upcoming for service and overdue. We can get a nice P&L of a specific asset, and we're tracking obviously those fuel costs that are coming in, the labor costs, the part costs, the tolls, the registration, the insurance. We can trap all this information within the asset in Connection, which is quite helpful. And then furthermore, going into the utilization of the assets. So this is where we can understand not only from the pre-starts of how that is the kilometers and the hours are being consumed, but also we can pull that data from the actual telematics GPS devices. And that allows us to get that kind of real inside information of, was the vehicle idle? How much fuel burn was utilized through the CAN bus, which is essentially the nervous system of a particular asset that tracks into the ECU, which is essentially the electronic computer system, the unit, should I say, of the actual asset. And that allows us to get these metrics out of the field. So it's not just fuel, it's like crank voltage, it's locations, it's every time the RPM and the ignition turned on. These are really interesting data points that we trap using GPS devices, as well as the combination of Connection, which is quite cool. Furthermore on the dashboard, I've also created this specific dashboard, and this is one thing Connect can do. We can create specific dashboards of data because our main superpower is capturing data from the field. So this one is an actual fuel docker dashboard that shows how much fuel liters that I've consumed for the organization. And this can be filtered by a particular date or a particular month and seeing how much fuel that I've used that month. And all those fuel dockets flowing through into the database. I can see exactly what I filled out. So I can see the name of the asset, how many machine hours, the crew, the supply station where I got the fuel, the type of fuel. All those things I completed on that form is now flowed through in here, and it's allowing me to give me a nice breakdown of where that fuel was used on what particular project, on what particular job, and what particular asset, which are lovely metrics to all to have. Now, before we move on to some further questions, the other around the fuel dashboard, there is another poll question here that I'll love to pop up, okay? If we could pop that bad boy up. There it is right there. So please take your time, but this is essentially it's really asking, how quickly are fuel costs reflected into your job costings? Are you able to calculate that in real time and a daily, or is it weekly, or do you never find out because you don't track them, or is it end of the month? So these are items that are very important to understand, and yeah, feel free to put your suggestion in. Now, I want to share some really, really cool stuff, which is around the telematic side of the business. Okay, we have a module called Aware, and what Aware does is it allows us to track multiple different assets. So if you had telematic GPSs in all your assets, but they're all different companies. You might have some for Caterpillar excavators, then you have GPS in Hitachi equipment, then you've got GPS in Kebleco or GPS in John Deere, and then GPS in Geotab, and you've got all these disjointed GPS providers. What Connection brings to the table is we can pool all those GPS devices all into one lovely dashboard, which I have here. And what this does is allows us to see in real time vehicles traveling. We can see here there's a vehicle on it's traveling 60 kilometers. We can see the direction it's going. We can pull in the voltage, and we can actually see that trip in real time as well, which allows us to see what time they started the trip, what time they finished the trip, how many kilometers they've consumed against that particular trip. It all comes in here very nicely in here, but it also pulls in certain events. We can see that he exceeded the speed limit, or she could have exceeded the speed limit on this particular intersection. We can see here there was a distracted driving event where they were drinking. There's another one that could be when they're texting or they're harsh cornering. And you might wonder, Phil, how do you know if they're drinking or how do you know they're texting on their phone? And this is where the power of not only a red dot on a screen for telematics is great, but the ability to have AI camera systems within the database can show um, not only the dash cam, but also the driver itself, monitoring eye movements, monitoring finger movements, when they haven't got the seatbelt on, or when they've, as I said, violated a speed violation or a stop sign violation. These are all items that can actually pull in directly from the telematics into one system, allows you to check everything here. We've got a lovely while driving. It's capturing the speed of 98. It's capturing the speed signs. It's know it's 100. You know the longitude and latitude. It's just lovely data pulling through, as you can see right there. Now, there is multiple customers within the connection world that operate the telematics system, and there's one that I do want to shout out. They are a mutual customer with Kilimanjaro and Connection. They're called PMA, Pipe Management Australia. They do a lot of infrastructure and pipe laying. And they use exactly these two modules. We incorporated it, installed all the GPS devices for all their trucks and trailers and non-destructive digging equipment. And then they also use the equipment module to manage their fleet, managing their services, managing their pre-starts, doing their maintenance closeout, and also managing the fuel, which is our hot topic today. And they're above the rest. They are a superstar in the field now because they've just got that visibility and they've cut costs. They've made money where it needs to be made, and they're lovely things. Now that concludes the a bit about the presentation, and we will now switch into the questions side of the presentation. So let me review from current side and let's get started on the questions, Marsha.
Well, thanks, Phil. That was a really insightful demo. for all the things you can do by connecting connection into the vehicle hardware um, and get all of those valuable insights that give you the accurate job profitability. Um, we've got a few questions lined up. The first question is from Josh. And his question is, what is connection and what is Upvoice? I am using Upvoice, but not connection, so I find this confusing.
Great question. That's a great question. So, Upfires is almost like our bone framework, and we've built connection on top of Upfires. We own the code, and we've essentially turned it's basically Upfires on steroids. What connection is? We've built on top of it to tailor certain industries that they are in, with all these added features that Upfires does not possess. So the equipment module is a lot more robust than what you have in Upfires. They don't have a nice drag and drop scheduler, award interpretation. There's all these other elements connection does, but or essentially, to put it real plain and simple, it's connection on steroids. It's Upfires on steroids. Yeah.
Thanks for that. The next question is, we are currently using separate apps for scheduling timesheets and maintenance, and they seem to be working well. What indicators should we look for that will suggest it's time to invest in a platform like Connection?
Well, the great indicator there. If those separate softwares are all integrated, linked together, it's doing its job, to be honest. However, you are paying multiple subscriptions to each of these softwares, and you're dealing with multiple support channels. So if something breaks here, does it going to break here? What the benefit of what Connection does is all those softwares that you mentioned is all in one software with one subscription fee and then one channel for support. So there is benefits of tying it all together. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. Next is on the hot topic nowadays, AI. Is there an AI element to Connection? Can you expand on the AI element within Connection?
Oh, absolutely. AI is the buzzword, and we have wrapped our business very around it. And we've done. I won't show examples of what we've done with AI. We can hang that to a future webinar, maybe Kilimanjaro. But some of the elements we've done around AI has been very specific to the industry vertical they belong into. So I'll show some couple examples. We do a lot of work with restoration companies that are part of the John Lynn's group entities. And one specific AI feature that we've built for them is an OCR technology from our phone where if a building was destroyed and they need to restore it, obviously they need to generate a quote out of it. What Connection has been able to accomplish is able to take a photo of the damaged area, and then it auto calculates the measurements of timber or plaster of what materials be used to actually restore this piece. And from that photo itself, the AI has analyzed it and can generate a quote that's about 85% accurate. And it also obviously needs that human element, just to the human in the loop, just to double check, ensure how accurate it is. But it's getting better and better as we go. Another key element around scheduling, what Connection does really well is we've plugged in lovely AI tokens. We are a Google house. We do a lot of Gemini work, but we have plugged in Claude and ChatGPT and Copilot and a few other of these AI and Grok as well into the Connection platform. And around the scheduling aspect, we've been able to monitor scheduling patterns and conflict resolution. So if you're trying to schedule a crew to work on a job or a specific person to drive on a particular truck, the system can do these reverse lookups and say, you can't schedule that crew because they're scheduled on another job, or you can't schedule this particular individual because his white card has expired, because we do a cross-reference with all their training data. But also the AI can also say, hey, you did this job 2 months ago, or you worked on this project two months ago, and you used this particular combination of assets and people, and you got a really good result. The customer paid on time, the job was completed smoothly, you got good feedback. Would you like to reschedule the same crew? And they're the insights of the AI learning the behavior of your scheduling patterns. So There's two. I gave you more than one. I gave you two little examples there of AI.
Brilliant, brilliant. Um, Next question is, can you please give us an example of how telematics can be used to cut fuel waste?
Yep, great question. So, the hardware topic is quite interesting. So, you need to figure out how much fuel that vehicle is consuming. So, how hardware t slash telematics works is it's pulling data, as I mentioned, from that CAN bus, that central nervous system of the vehicle, the internal computer network. Okay. And or you can use an aftermarket fuel sensor. That's another way to do it. So, being able to connect to the electronics of the units like the engine and the transmission, the hardware, the connection software taps into that hardware network, and it can understand of how much fuel is burnt while the asset is operating, even if the asset's idling. So not even if you're driving, you could be in the asset, you could have the air cord blowing, but you could have like a pump in the back, and that's consuming fuel, but you're not moving the asset. So you need to be able to get into that data and understand it. So we sell all that hardware, which is one of the great things of Connection. We're not only a software company, but we have all the hardware and we've got proven results of getting that information with our hardware. But being able to kind of get those metrics from our specific hardware allows you to track those fuel costs, and then you can offload those fuel costs to your client as well. Very great for dry hire companies if you're doing monthly billing or hour billing on a particular piece of dry hire. But now you can offset the cost as well and bill them on the fuel. So yeah.
Lovely. And last but not the least, how long does it take to implement connection?
Oh, that's a lovely. How long is a piece of string question, which is great. It's very similar to a an ERP implementation, but it really depends how many elements of connection you like. As you know, I've just shown you fleet and telematics, and that can be implemented within 2 to 3 months, which is great. When you want something that's a bit more robust, that allows you to do timesheets and health and safety and ISO management and scheduling, obviously it's going to take about 6 to 12 months. So they're the kind of frames that you'll be looking. And there's a lovely last poll question here as well. So thank you.
Oh, perfect. I think that's it for questions. Should we cover off the last slide as well?
Yes, the last slide is here. So Um, lovely little mascot of our Kai in the middle there, but hopefully this webinar is very informative to you and you can stop the leaks, literally on the fuel. So please reach out to your Kilimanjaro account executive. They have an abundance of knowledge of what Connection can offer as well. And yeah, Marsha, please sign off me off.
No. As Phil said, look, there's more to connection than just the equipment part that we've covered in the webinar today. You've got the ISO management bit, health and safety, timesheeting, general field services. If you do want to have a conversation, kind of understand what else the platform provides you, feel free to reach out to your account manager at Kilimanjaro and we can set up the introduction, set up the demo, or whatever stage or life cycle of your thinking you're in. We're happy to help you gain the knowledge around this area, as you see. And that's it for us for today. Thank you very much, Phil, for your time. And have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody.